So in this lecture today, we will be discussing about bioremediation. So first, let's define bioremediation. So basically, one way to define bioremediation is the use of biological organisms to remove or detoxify pollutants from a contaminated area. So when we talk about bioremediation, we are basically trying to, actually, if you look at the word bioremediation, you have the bio and the remediation here. Remediation basically is to remedy something. So you want to remove the pollutants, you want to detoxify a certain region or area that was previously or basically currently rampant or that is currently polluted. And doing this remediation, we are making use of natural processes, especially for the biological agents. Because if you remember from the previous lecture, we have the persistent organic pollutants that persist for a very long time in the environment. So we want to speed up the process, to detoxify them. So we use the actions, basically we metabolize them using microorganisms. Not only actually microorganisms, but also other biological organisms or biological agents. So one example here is having sunflowers, planting sunflowers near industrial sites. Basically, sunflowers, although they are how should I say, peculiar looking, well, rather cute looking flowers with their big faces, but sunflowers have been shown to capture the toxins, metals, and carcinogenic compounds from industrial sites. And so planting sunflowers near industrial sites, and even in the Chernobyl region, because if you are familiar with the Chernobyl incident, where a nuclear power plant, it's a nuclear power plant disaster, one of the worst, similar or in the same level as the Fukushima disaster. Basically, you have a detonation, accidental explosion of a bioreactor, which polluted the whole area. So since the area is rampant with radioactive materials, people and other living organisms cannot live there. So they have to evacuate. That area was left alone because of course the hazards, the radioactive hazards. And so because of course, especially now, we are the land use, we want to expand the use of land, so they try to decontaminate the area by planting sunflowers, and they have been shown to actually mitigate and detoxify the area. So aside from sunflowers, we also have other usually plants. So you have some mustards that can extract lead, arsenic, zinc, and other metals from contaminated soil. So here is actually an image of a sunflower field near an oil refinery plant. So basically, all of the volatile organic compounds released in this oil refinery are being absorbed by these sunflowers. So, bioremediation, how you actually do bioremediation. So, basically, you have your contaminated sites and sampling. And, of course, this is not this is more of a scientific endeavor. So, you perform laboratory tests and isolation of microorganisms that break down your pollutants. So, depending on what you need to do on the types of bioremediation that you do, you either actually excavate the land for ex situ or prepare the land for in situ bioremediation. And then you actually perform the bioremediation. Actually, we have several types. So, and then once you have prepared your bioremediation, you leave them for either the in situ, the indigenous biological organisms, or the ex situ, or the exogenous, the microorganisms, or even the biological organisms you introduce to the area to do their work to restore the land. So these types of bioremediation that we have the phytoremediation, rhizofiltration, bioventing, bioleaching, land farming, bioreactor, composting, bioaugmentation, and biostimulation. So there are quite a lot here, but generally it is actually the use of the different types of bioremediation is dependent on basically what organisms can actually remedy or detoxify your compound, because you cannot, for example, do phytoremediation when you do not have a plant that can process the pollutant present in the area. So you'd rather go to, say, a bioreactor or even a bioaugmentation or biostimulation. Actually, it depends on the pollutant and the area type. So let's start with phytoremediation. So here we have, phytoremediation is actually a study in itself. So we have in itself different types of phytoremediation, but generally we define a phytoremediation as the use of higher plants for cost-effective, environmentally friendly rehabilitation of soil and groundwater contaminated by toxic metals and organic compounds. So another definition is the use of the green plants. That's why we call it phytoremediation. It's phyto, we are referring to plants. So it's the use of the green plants to treat and control wastes in water, soil, and air. So here you can see here several phytoremedy. Basically, it's just one. It's under one umbrella of phytoremediation, but it's just that how actually plants process your biological the contaminants, whether it's organic compounds or even inorganic pollutants. So either this stabilize it using phytostimulation. You introduce materials, and then basically, or rather the plants will stimulate the local microflora to actually degrade it. Phytoextraction, phytodegradation, phytovolatilization. So basically, these are how plants process it. And also here we have the rhizofiltration, which is considered a different type of bioremediation technique, but still it is something to do of the plants because of the roots. When we have rhizofiltration, it's basically a filtering out or removing the pollutants from usually it's the groundwater through the use of the plant roots. So we have several types of phytoremediation: the in situ on-site contaminant removal through the plant uptake, or the ex situ, which involves excavation of polluted soil followed by treatment. But the ex situ one, since you are moving soil, it's actually higher, or rather more expensive. So in terms of the plants here in the Philippines, we have the Philippine fern that is used to absorb arsenic and copper usually from the soil, the waste materials. Basically, it's soil waste material from the mining copper and arsenic. Actually, not only mining copper and arsenic, from the mining industry in general. And then we have the ever-famous mangrove trees, which have a wide range of applications in wetlands and estuaries, and it's known to actually clean water. So we have, as I said, because the plant is a more complex organisms than microorganisms, we have several technologies that the plants utilize to do their job in detoxifying the environment. So you have phytostabilization, where the contaminants are detained in the soil but are stabilized. Phytodegradation, they convert the organic contaminants to a less harmful substance. Phytovolatilization, where the contaminants are converted inside plants to a gaseous state and released into the atmosphere via evapotranspiration process, basically the transpiration. But in this case, the gaseous contaminants have been neutralized. And then phytoextraction. The plants are used to accumulate contaminants in the above ground harvestable biomass. Now, a word of caution here in the use of plants for bioremediation. The plants removes it from the soil, but sometimes, such as heavy metals, they tend to accumulate in the plants. So it's not really a good idea to eat the plants. So when we do phytoremediation, it's seldom that we use plants that we use for eating, for food. It's seldom that we plant the plants that we use for food in the contaminated soil, because sometimes the plants just accumulate it inside them, and then when we eat them, we will get the pollutant. Okay, so as a close relative of phytoremediation, or as part of it, we have the rhizofiltration. So rhizofiltration, you have your is the adsorption onto the plant roots or absorption into plant roots of contaminants that are in solution surrounding the root zone or the rhizosphere. That's why it's called rhizofiltration. Sometimes it's called phytofiltration because, of course, it's the plants doing the filtering. So, rhizofiltration is used to decontaminate groundwater. Okay, so the next one will be bioventing. So, this one we are not using plants now. So, in bioventing, it's a biological technique for in situ soil remediation that achieves the biodegradation of VOCs and adsorb fuel residuals by providing oxygen via low airflow rates, just enough to sustain microbial activity. So what is actually getting here is that you are usually the contaminants is on the ground, usually underground. So you bore holes and provide them with oxygen. Why do you need to provide oxygen? Because sometimes the anaerobic organisms below the ground are not enough, and you need to have aerobic organisms to actually do the job. So aerobic organisms cannot cannot really live without oxygen. So you are just providing them with the oxygen that they need. So the bioventing, it enhances the activity of indigenous bacteria and archaea and stimulates the natural in situ biodegradation of hydrocarbon derivatives by inducing air or oxygen flow into the unsaturated zone and, if necessary, adding nutrients. So here you have your contaminated zone. So usually it's below ground. So you bore a hole and inject oxygen there. So you allow the oxygen to permeate to the contaminated zone, and then sometimes you also have another hole for an air vent where the air should pass through. So that is your bioventing. So you degrade the contaminants through aerobic processes. Okay, so I will stop here for this part. So in the next part, we'll discuss about the other bioremediation technologies.